Hello and welcome back to my channel, Logically Literate. This is the third video in the 5-part series of making a Python web server using Flask and SQL Alchemy. In this video we're going to cover the HTML and Jinja templating within Flask. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. When we left off last video, we had an HTML page that we could serve up via Flask that just said Hello Flask. Today we're going to create a nice looking HTML page with a form where we can submit text, and we'll see the text change on the page. The submitting of the text will go to the server will process it, and it'll send it back to the page here. In the next video we'll look into actually using SQL Alchemy to store some data and then serve it back up whenever a new session is started. But for now we're going to just have session-based data. So to start off, we're going to need a new HTML page, a little bit more in depth. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy a couple over from the other screen, and we'll go from there. So once I finish that, then I'll go ahead and cut back. Okay, so you'll notice a couple new files here. We have a home.html, a layout.html, and then we have this includes folder within the templates folder that has form helpers, messages, and navbar. I'm not going to cover these all that much. I'll go over them quickly, but just know that they're there so you can use them in your own project. The basis of this video will be focused on home.html. So let's go ahead and start at the top with layout. So layout is basically your base HTML page. In the last video we had an HTML page that looked kind of similar to this, but then we just had a header or a h1 inside of here that said Hello Flask. You'll notice now that we have these includes and we have this block. So this is Jinja here. When you do a open curly brace %, this is kind of like the Jinja tag. And then you can do things where you include other HTML files. So we're including the navbar at the top of the body. And then we create a div, and then inside of the div we include the messages. So you can have pop-up messages at the top of your HTML page. And then underneath messages we have the body, and this is where all of our content will be placed. So within the body we'll place the home page, and to do that we'll say at the top extends layout, and then to create the different parts that you can extend, the only one we have right now is the body, so we'll say block body. What we could do though is have multiple blocks in here, and then within an HTML page you could have multiple blocks that you fill in with data. So essentially think of this as just a placeholder, or think of this as a placeholder for all the code that goes inside of this. And we tell Jinja to locate this block body inside of this layout file by saying this extends tag. So inside of this we'll create a div, and it has a special class for some CSS that I've preloaded in the layout via these scripts and this script. But what I'll do is I'll copy some code in from over here, and so we're going to basically just have a couple things. We'll have a heading, we'll have an h1 that'll just say welcome, and then we'll have a paragraph that will have some data in it, and then we'll have a form to submit new data. So this show data will actually be a variable that we pass into our templating engine called show data, and it'll print out in this paragraph tag. Now when we want to change the data, we'll have a form that has a submit button and a text field, and the text field will start off with the value of show data, but when we submit it, it will come in with the tag new text, and we'll process it in our public class or file. So let's go ahead and implement that right now. So inside of public we're going to add a couple things. So we'll add a initialized data variable that just is called paragraph text, and then inside of here we'll have that variable called show data, and that will be passed in, that will pass data into that. And then if we ever load up this page and we have new data coming in, we will use requests from Flask, and we will say .args .get new text. So new text matches with our name of our input field, and then show data matches with the variable that we use in our Jinja templating. Notice that there are two curly braces on either side. This is how you access the data in a variable that's passed in. Slightly different from this, which is a Jinja tag. Okay, so now we're going to make a quick update. We want the data to persist between multiple sessions. So to do this, we will actually link this data object here and here to the global data variable by saying global data. So now when this updates here, it'll actually update here as well. That way when new people log in, they'll see the same data. Then, to make sure that the page shows this data on the first try, we will change this to temp data, and we will say if temp data, then data equals temp data. And so what this will do is this will actually only save this if we actually post new data. So if nothing's posted, which happens on the first load of the page, it'll just show this data here. Okay, so now we're going to run this server. We'll get up and running, and then we can go load a page from it. So now we see paragraph text, which is the text here. Now if I change it to saying new paragraph, when we send that, you'll notice it changes to new paragraph, and you'll also notice here that we have a get that has the new text, new paragraph. So now what we can do is we'll test the global data. So if we load up a new page, it shouldn't say paragraph text, it should say new paragraph, just like this page does. So we'll go here, we'll load up a new page, and it says new paragraph text, or new paragraph rather. And if I change it here, and I say old data, now it says old data, and if I refresh this page, it now says old data. So by using a local variable, we were able to persist data. Now, if the server restarts like this, we get back paragraph text. This is because the data was only saved in memory, it wasn't stored to the disk. In the next video, we'll look into SQL Alchemy and how to actually store data to a disk using a database. So until then, thanks for watching.